Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, listen, we're skipping all the usual fluff today and jumping straight into something incredibly intense. We are doing a deep, chilling psychological analysis of real-life predatory behaviors. Specifically, we're going to unpack exactly how stalkers select their targets. We'll be walking through real-life, first-hand accounts to basically reverse engineer the terrifying strategies these predators use to isolate and hunt everyday people. So grab your notebooks and honestly, maybe lock your doors, because this explainer is absolutely going to change how you view your everyday surroundings.
So ask yourself, how does a stalker actually choose you? I want you to picture your most completely mundane, boring routines. Ordering a pizza on a random Tuesday, working a late shift at a quiet store, or maybe just hanging out at a summer cabin with friends. We inherently feel totally safe in these moments, right? The routine of it all makes us comfortable. But what if the very things that make these situations feel so normal to you are exactly what make you a prime target for someone watching from the shadows? Because here's the thing, stalkers don't just pick names out of a hat. They are actively hunting for very specific, calculated vulnerabilities. And the moment you learn to recognize their playbook, you can completely stop them in their tracks.
Get a load of this real-life story. So there's this 12-year-old kid left home alone for the very first time. He does what any kid would do. Orders a pizza. But when he answers the door, the delivery driver, a guy in his 30s, hands over the box, literally looks right past the kid into the dark, empty house and asks this incredibly chilling question: "You alone here?" The boy, just trying to be a polite kid, gives some vague, non-committal answer. Well, fast forward a few hours and someone is inside his house. That pizza driver used a completely everyday transaction to probe for a weakness. The absolute second he confirmed that child was unsupervised and vulnerable, he came right back to break in. Which brings us to the absolutely crucial mechanism at play here. It's called target isolation. Literally, it's the predatory strategy of identifying and separating a vulnerable person from any potential sources of help. You have to understand, stalkers are entirely obsessed with isolation. Honestly, they're cowards. They don't want an audience, they definitely don't want witnesses, and there is no way they want a fair fight. They meticulously engineer these scenarios where you are totally cut off from your safety net, so you're entirely dependent on whatever their next move is. That perfectly tees up Section 1, identifying the isolated, looking at geographic vulnerability. The pattern recognition across these three distinct stories is just wild. Okay, first up, imagine a massive home in North Idaho, completely surrounded by dense forest. The vulnerability there, pure geographic isolation. The stalker's tactic was literally tapping on the windows and circling the perimeter, deliberately leaving bare footprints in the snow because he knew the victim inside had absolutely nowhere to run. Or take the second case. Picture a South Carolina cabin rented by a bunch of college kids. The GPS completely cuts out, there's zero cell signal, and they are miles deep in the woods. A squatter realizes this, stands there silently staring at them through the glass at 4 a.m., and eventually sneaks right into their kitchen the second they drop their guard. And finally, a summer camp counselor out in the secluded woods is targeted by a guy wearing an owl mask who just softly taps on the sliding glass doors in the dead of night. In every single one of these cases, the stalkers explicitly chose targets whose physical, geographic environment made calling for help or escaping almost impossible. But you might be thinking, what if I'm not in some secluded cabin in the woods? Section 2, the night shift advantage and how stalkers manufacture isolation in public. Let's break this down. Normal customer behavior is super simple and totally predictable, right? You walk in, browse a bit, buy your stuff, and leave. Takes what, a few minutes max? But predatory pacing is a whole different ballgame. This next story comes straight from a gas station worker's absolutely terrifying night shift. So a stalker had them calling the store anonymously for hours, just constantly asking if the employee was alone. Then this guy walks in, and he doesn't act normal at all. He lingers in the aisles, buying absolutely nothing for nearly 10 agonizing minutes. He completely avoids eye contact, but he's constantly monitoring the employee's movements over the shelves, literally tracking them like prey. Finally, he buys a single bag of chips, stares dead into the employee's eyes with this horrible, knowing smile, and then casually walks outside and hides perfectly in the security camera's blind spot. He wasn't there to shop. He was pacing. He was waiting for the perfect manufactured moment of total isolation to make his move. And that creepy behavior leads us right into Section 3, probing and boundary testing. Stalkers don't just attack out of nowhere. They test you first. It's like a twisted 3-step playbook. Step 1 is observation and loitering. They just watch you quietly from a distance to make absolutely sure you're alone. Step 2 is the fake emergency. This is where they manufacture some highly believable reason for you to leave your safe space and come directly to them. And then step 3 is forced isolation, where they finally spring the trap. What they're doing is testing your boundaries. Are you going to break your own safety rules just to help a stranger? Are you going to ignore that sinking feeling in your gut because you're too worried about being polite? Look at how incredibly common this fake lure tactic really is. We've got another gas station worker, 2:30 a.m., who gets approached by a frantic guy claiming his car broke down and he needs help checking under the hood. Total lie. He just wanted to lure the worker out into a pitch-black parking lot where 2 other guys were waiting in a stolen car. Or think about the bartender working at 1 a.m. A couple relentlessly tries to coax her outside to their vehicle by offering her this exclusive $10,000 weekend job. Or even a camper woken up at midnight by that masked owl man we talked about, who just whispers through the door, "It's cold outside, let me in." They all use these fabricated stories, a broken down car, a crazy high-paying job, playing on sympathy for the cold, to test if the target is gullible or polite enough to literally step out of their safe zone. Which actually brings us to a reality that is just truly horrifying. Section 4, Accomplices and Fake Lures, or the friendly face. That guy's been recording you. Follow me. Okay, this comes from a night shift employee at Walmart. She notices this incredibly creepy guy stalking her through the empty aisles. Just as she starts to panic, this friendly, overly familiar woman runs up, physically grabs her arm, and pretends to be this amazing old friend saving her from the creep. The woman whispers that exact quote, acting like the ultimate rescuer. But here is the absolute nightmare twist. As they walk away, this supposedly friendly woman totally bypasses all the populated areas. She avoids the cash registers, the managers, and forcefully tries to drag the employee out the unmonitored backloading doors into the pitch black. When security pulled the tape later, they saw the friendly woman and the creepy guy had walked into the store together. They were literally a team. Because the terrifying truth is, predators do not always look like movie monsters. Remember that bartender we mentioned a minute ago? The people trying to lure her outside were not guys sitting at the bar wearing ski masks. It was a well-dressed, wealthy-looking guy in a sleek trench coat and a trendy, smiling woman who just kept complimenting the bartender's outfit and looks. They used charm, flattery, and the promise of a ton of money to try and gain her compliance. But when the bartender trusted her guide, refused to go outside, and locked the doors, the security cameras showed a black van idling out back with masked men waiting to grab her. That smiling, well-dressed couple, they were nothing more than the bait. And that brings us to the most crucial part of this entire explainer. Section 5, trusting your survival instincts. How do you actually fight back when you're targeted? 0. That is the exact number of times being polite saved any of these victims. Think about it. The gas station worker who slammed the panic button and locked the doors instead of walking outside to look at the broken down car, he lived. The Walmart employee who physically yanked her arm out of the friendly woman's grip and ran screaming toward her coworkers, she survived. The guy in the Idaho cabin who fired a warning shot and let his Rottweiler loose on the smiling stranger holding a knife, survived. In every single one of these scenarios, survival required completely shattering social norms, absolutely refusing to be polite, and being totally willing to make a massive scene. So let's boil all of this down into something you can take with you. Here are your absolute red flags of target selection. Number 1, unwarranted personal questions. If the pizza guy or some stranger at a bar asks if you're alone, huge red flag. 2, lingering without purpose, pacing the aisles and watching you instead of just shopping. 3, forced familiarity or physical touch, exactly like that woman grabbing the Walmart employee's arm. 4, any attempt to move you to an unmonitored area, away from the cameras, the crowds, or the lights. And 5, fake emergencies that are custom designed to exploit your natural empathy. Seriously, memorize these. Burn them into your brain. Because the second you spot them, you need to act. I want to leave you with this final thought. If a predator breaks the social contract to target you, are you willing to break it to survive? You see, stalkers rely entirely on your innate human desire to be helpful, to act normal, and to just be polite. They weaponize your own good manners right against you. So the very next time something just feels a little off, the next time some random person asks for help in a dark parking lot, or you hear a tap on your window in the middle of the night, remember these stories. Trust your gut, lock the door, and never, ever be afraid to make a scene. Well, that's all for this explainer. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and keep analyzing the world around you. Catch you next time.